Breeze wouldn't have been going today.
And he never called me because there's, I want to get going on the holding tank permit.
Combined into one, and
We got to get that. That has to have some approvals done on it and stuff like that. So I want to get that rolling. So
Yeah, because Home Craftsman got the building and you got,
his little girl.
he said that he was going to run one from the other tank line.
yeah, we looked at that, and I'll run a trench right across. I'm gonna have the backhoe there anyway, Larry. So I'll just put the small bucket on and dig it down so it's about 2 foot. And then I said, if we dig it down 2 foot deep, then if you ever do something with the driveway, you ain't gotta worry about hitting it. It'll be deep. You know what I mean?
Are you coming Thursday?
Harvey said, we'll never do nothing with the driveway. I said, are you gonna be chairman forever?
I think he's actually coming.
But
He's too
Gary
it's,
roads, you know, they
I think he has
right up the
doesn't
snow.
take him county come. Yeah,
Thousand or so
The snow.
got a lot of them.
You got something.
northwest end.
We're not.
He says, I think we should have a couple meetings with him.
I wrote it on my
You
calendar.
guys gonna run again next year?
Schedule him.
Why?
That's the thing. He's got to get 5 weeks.
Come next year?
5 here and 5 here and 5 here.
I will, I'll say.
Yeah, they. You do.
I'll go along with it. Well, if you guys, Gary kept saying he wasn't going to announce his last term, you know. I don't think it's fair to
Still will.
blow a
Sure he
bunch of money and dump it on the,
Board.
yeah, on the new board.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, they both said they was gonna be around for a while.
Have you talked to Ryan?
That'd be kind of nice.
Find him to stay
Yeah.
there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like this group from a bachelorette car party came in, and then there was
Jiva Black.
totally separate group that was doing some rough and ready competition or something. So you had all these young girls and all these young guys, and they all
was that?
like what
Never
nuts.
ain't gonna be here tonight, huh?
Canoeing and
Got a minute, yeah.
triathlon type thing.
Oh, that's what it was.
Probably couldn't find a place to park.
If you would like to speak to the county board during the public comment time, you must fill out a registration slip and turn it into the county board chair prior to the start of the meeting. Registration slips are located at the front of the room. Please keep in mind that the county board will not be able to respond to your comments or ask you any questions. Your comments are informational only. If further action is required, your comments, concerns will be directed to the appropriate department or committee.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. And Melanie will take roll call. Maybe she'll take roll call.
Here we go. Sorry about that. Mrs. Krentz.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Tim.
Here.
Mr. Piaski.
Here.
Mr. Eckstein's excused. Mr. Weddy.
Here.
Mrs. Collada.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Wadel.
Here.
Mr. Crawford.
Here,
Mark Kirschner.
Here.
Okay, we'll stay with silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I hate that mister.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I don't believe we have anyone signed up for public comments. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, motion by Weddy,
Second that motion.
second by Wado. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll go on to the approval of the minutes of the May 15th, 2012 meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Motion by Crawford, second by Krenz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have no old business, and under new business, we'll have reports and the bonding project update.
Good evening, everyone. Well, as you were walking in, I'm sure you saw some dust and some debris, and our construction project is moving along quite well. The drywall has been put up downstairs in the old work release center, and the taping has begun. This week they began work on the law library renovations as well as the administration area, and the plumbers expect to have everything done except the fixtures set by the end of the week. So currently we're on schedule, and hopefully that continues. The executive committee has decided to have the South Annex appraised to determine if it might be wiser to sell that property rather than demolish the building and make a parking lot. So we're waiting for some more information about that, and then that will be discussed at the next executive meeting. We had a meeting with Motorola, Northway, and the Sheriff's Department on June 7th. We came up with a timeline for installation of the final equipment, the optimizing the testing, and all that needs to be done to switch to narrowband. The goal is to be fully operational by September 1st. And yesterday or today, we received a $200,000 check from the state for their share of the costs at the Watoma Tower. So we keep working on that project as well. As far as the telephone system, Century will be coming to complete the next generation 911 upgrade in approximately October, and then we'll be able to complete the conversion to the new phone system in the dispatch area. With Spillman, we're continuing to work on the mobile units in both the county and the villages, and we're looking at some additional training. So that project is continuing as well. And then I see Sheriff Peterson has joined us, and he's going to give you a report on EMD.
I'll keep it short, I guess. A year or so ago, whenever it was, the county board put money aside in the bonding issue to pay for the program for EMD. They chose not to put any money aside for any staff or any training or anything like that. And with everything we got going on right now, there's no way with the staff we got and all the irons we got in the fire that I'm willing to tackle EMD at this time. It's a wonderful, probably a wonderful thing. I haven't found any other county our size that has had any good experience with it. But having said that, we could still take a look at it. But now with the staff and everything else they got going on right now. So they wanted a time frame. Right now, it looks like October before we get the phones up. I got a call from Motorola, I think it's today, Tuesday. I don't know if it was the end of last week or earlier this week. And after we sat down and did the timeline to have that equipment all installed, August 25th, we're now pushed back 1 week from that because of some technician that they're having to come in to do it. We did build in a couple weeks. I haven't been able to get back to the guy to know whether pushing that back a week means we're going to be pushed back a week from August 25th or not. If we do, then we got to push the narrowbanding, I guess it's ahead, push it out farther. So right now we got all irons in the fire that we can handle. With staff cuts, I push myself hard, I push my staff hard. There comes a time when you got to let off on the gas, or we'll have other. We won't be able to get done what we got on our plate. So that's all I got.
We have some questions concerning this. I'm wondering what staff cuts you're talking about. I thought
we cut staff at budget time when we combined the two jails.
But we didn't cut staff in the dispatch, did we?
Yes, we cut one dispatcher.
And since you've hired, right?
We cut one dispatcher. We had 9 full-time dispatchers. We have 8 full-time dispatchers now. We went to 12-hour shifts. And we backfill with 4 people from the jail. So there's, for those who don't know, the jail and dispatchers are on a 12-hour shift. It takes a minimum of 5 people that have to be there all the time, 24 hours a day. And we have filled it with 7 people. So then we have to cover vacations, sick time, whatever else.
Weren't you looking for a LTE in that position?
Yep, I had one dispatcher quit, so I can't only train one at a time.
And
so
I noticed too in a report that you put out that when you no longer needed that LTE in that position, you were going to bring them in 1 or 2 days a month just to keep them sharp on the...
We haven't even been able to bring anybody in to offer them a job, because in the meantime, we had one of our dispatchers left, so we're training, had to hire another full-time one. At the same time, one of our other dispatchers was on long-term medical leave. She comes back tomorrow. I'm not sure, we're still a couple of weeks out anyway, getting the full-time dispatcher up to speed so she can be by herself or with just one other person. And then that time we'll look to get an LTE. It takes some time, It's a lot different than it was a few years ago. And there's a lot to the job. I just can't, we're fortunate that we got somebody this last time who had some police dispatching experience, but it takes a while to get them up to speed. So when we get in a couple weeks, I just talked to George today. We're going to sit down and see if we have 2 other candidates on our eligibility list. I know one of them is working at a state park this summer. The other one was working at a non-law enforcement job. So we'll look and see if one of those 2 people is willing to take an LTE position. The best case scenario was we thought we were going to, this one that had some experience, she was only looking for part-time, and we thought that was like too good to be true, and it turned out it was. She took the full-time position. So now it's going to be look for an LTE.
You're advertising for one now, is that it?
No, we have 2 people on our eligibility list. We need to get the training done so that I can get somebody in to start the next round of training.
Is there a reason why you would train at the same time?
Again, I got one person out. I got one shift, one 12-hour shift half the time that I'm working, just filling it with people who are not full-time dispatchers. So I can't train with that. The person that left was one of the people that was doing some of our training. So that's where we're at.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, we have a follow-up to the Clausen public comments.
Hi, I think all of you know me, and if you don't, I don't think I've met Mr. Jones yet. I'm Terry Dopp-Pockstad, and I'm the Director of the Land Conservation and Zoning Department, and I'm here to report on the Clausen family's comments that they made at last month's county board meeting. I'd like to preface my comments by saying that we have been working with the Clausens for many years, even before they started their operation back in 2001. A little over a year ago, they started to make some changes to expand the business that involved both the zoning office and some building inspection staff. We've been working with them over this time, trying to get them into compliance with the necessary codes that we both enforce. Because there will likely be an application coming before the Planning and Zoning Committee and then the full county board, I do not want to go over all of the details pertaining to that property tonight, but I invite anyone that wants to come in and look at all the files ask questions, find out what's going on, please do so. I'd be happy to go through those and provide more details and answer your questions at that time. As far as the specific comments made about staff members, there was some in the written material for both our zoning staff and the building inspection department. Deb, Ruth, and myself have investigated these and find nothing to substantiate those. And that's it. Thanks.
All right, we have some presentations tonight. We're going to have some diabetes information from Kevin. Pronounce your last name for me, please. Okay. County Public Nurse, Health Nurse.
I don't know if I've met all of you, but my name's Kevin Meehan. I work for Waushara County Public Health Department, and I've been here for 3 years. First couple of years were part-time. Recently came on full-time this past spring. Tonight I'm going to give you a little presentation on diabetes. Diabetes has become pretty much an epidemic in this country, and it hasn't eluded our county here. We'll just start out with the next slide with a little introduction as to what diabetes is. There are 3 types of diabetes. Type 1 is childhood or adolescent diabetes. Type 2 is acquired diabetes, and gestational diabetes is diabetes that women acquire during pregnancy. Type 1 diabetes has its onset in early childhood and adolescence. It's an irreversible condition, and the person becomes insulin dependent. The exact cause of type 1 is really not known. There's a lot of medical evidence to show that it's possibly an autoimmune disorder where our immunity system mistakenly attacks the insulin producing beta cells in the pancreas and destroys them. Genetics may also play a role, and certain viruses may also destroy these beta cells that produce insulin. What is type 2 diabetes? And this is kind of what I'm going to focus on tonight. Type 2 diabetes strikes people of all ages, and 2 out of 3 people with diabetes don't even know they have it. This is an acquired condition for the most part. Type 2 diabetes differs from type 1 in so much as the pancreas may retain some ability to create insulin, but additionally the body may have a resistance to the insulin that it produces. Some of the warning signs of type 2 diabetes. One of the first indicators is increased thirst, and what the body is trying to do here is trying to dilute the high glucose sugar that's in the bloodstream. It's also accompanied by other additional problems such as dry mouth, increased appetite, weight loss or weight gain, frequent urination, sometimes as often as every hour. People often get headaches as well, become fatigued very often, have blurred vision. These are some of the other warning signs. A lot of diabetes patients end up having difficulty with healing wounds, so infections become a chronic ailment. Cuts and sores heal very slowly. People get frequent yeast infections or UTIs, itchy skin, especially in the groin area. Another sad side effect is sexual dysfunction. It's very common with people who have diabetes. Most men with diabetes will at some time or another have difficulty with their sexual experiences. Between 35 and 70% of men, and about 1 in every 3 women will experience some sexual dysfunction of one form or another. With type 2 diabetes, there are a lot of risk factors, and risk factors that you can control and that individuals can control in order to take charge of their disease process. And these come down to lifestyle choices. Sedentary lifestyle contributes to it. Smoking, being overweight, eating processed food, the great American diet. That's it's great and it's convenient, but unfortunately there are a lot of things in there. High-fat dietary products, high fructose corn syrup. A lot of these things that we ingest contribute greatly to the disease process. Abnormal cholesterol levels such as low HDLs or high triglycerides greater than 250. Those are all indicators that you're at an increased risk for diabetes. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the American diet with its emphasis on processed food, carbohydrates, high fructose corn syrup, one of the main culprits, is thought to be a big factor in the dramatic rise of type 2 diabetes. It is believed that the evolutionary development of the human body was never set up to handle such high levels of glucose, and the cells that produce the insulin are simply wearing out from overuse. Risk factors that you can't control is your race or ethnicity. African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, Asians are at greater risks than other ethnic groups. Those with family histories of diabetes, especially those with a sibling or a parent with diabetes, they're definitely at increased risk, and anybody who's 45 or older, we're all at increased risk.
Oh, man.
So, next slide, please. Risk factors for women. Gestational diabetes is, if you acquire gestational diabetes while pregnant, you're at a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. Additionally, they've found that if your baby's 9 pounds or over, you're at increased risk, and women with a history of polycystic ovary syndrome can have a resistance to insulin that can lead to diabetes. Just want to explain a little bit how insulin works, trying to give you a little bit of an overview in the science of it, try to keep it simple. Your stomach breaks down carbohydrates from the food you eat, and that then in turn turns it into insulin or into glucose or sugar. When the glucose enters the blood system, the pancreas senses this and it releases insulin. Insulin acts like a chemical key in a lock mechanism. When insulin enters the insulin receptors in a cell, it opens up the glucose gates and allows the glucose or the sugar to enter the cell, and then glucose is turned into energy there. If the pancreas doesn't make enough insulin, or the insulin receptors are not sensitive to the insulin, the glucose gates will not open and the glucose can't enter the cell, and that glucose remains in the bloodstream then. In type 2 diabetes, the cells don't absorb the glucose properly. Blood sugars become too high, and the body doesn't like it when blood sugar is too high. It's a big molecule, the glucose molecule, and we have very small capillaries that have semi-permeable membranes. These are your blood vessels. And what happens is those big molecules start to block up those little capillaries. And that's why you see individuals with diabetes, like way down at the end of at the distal end at your feet and lower leg areas. The pressure, if you think of a hose, the heart's pumping the blood down there. The pressure is not very high when it's way down at the feet level, so it's not able to push past all of those glucose molecules and get the much needed red blood cells in to feed those cells in the lower extremities. With uncontrolled diabetes, the cells in the body can't get the food and oxygen, and they literally starve to death and will begin to die. What happens to all the excess blood sugar? Well, your body knows that it doesn't like a lot of blood sugar in it, so what it does is it sends that sugar to adipose tissue, which is like a meshwork membrane, mostly around the abdominal area, but it sends it there to turn it to fat, just to get it out of the bloodstream. Interestingly, people that have this type of diabetes and gain a lot of weight, they literally are starving because their cells can't get the food they need. And so they just, I mean, you can say they compulsively eat, but they pretty much, for the most part, have to, because the body's telling them that their cells are actually starving, the muscle cells and tissue cells. Go ahead. Easy to diagnose. Simple blood test can diagnose diabetes. An A1C test gives a snapshot of your average glucose, what your average glucose levels are over a 2 to 3 month period. An A1C of over 6.5 is an indication that you may have diabetes, and a fasting glucose test is where you go for 12 hours without eating anything, and you go into the doctor, they draw your blood and they measure it, and if that is above 126, you're a likely candidate for being diabetic. Any sort of diabetes can be managed, type 2 especially. blood sugar levels can be controlled by monitoring how much carbohydrates, that's cereals, grains, dairy, that sort of thing, that you ingest. And overall trying to reduce calorie consumption. Exercise also is very, very good for sensitizing the cells to receive insulin. We're not really quite sure why that mechanism works, but it does work. Being active can also reduce body fat, lower blood pressure, and help protect against heart disease. Stress is also another factor. Fight or flight response can raise your blood sugar levels. Some people may use food to cope with stress. If you're living with diabetes, these are all bad things. Manage stress with relaxation techniques, visualization, deep breathing. Meditations are very effective ways of coping with the disease process. Some of the new medications that are out are very, very effective. Some of them stimulate the pancreas to make more insulin, others make the cells more sensitive or block digestion of starchy foods. Some of the new medications for type 2 are non-insulin injectables, whereas injecting insulin opens the door so glucose can get into the cells. These new medications cause the pancreas to release your own insulin if you still have the capacity to make it. Type 2 diabetics can also become insulin dependent when their pancreas no longer produces enough insulin. The term for that is beta cell failure. If this happens, type 2 diabetics, just like type 1 diabetics, will be using insulin injections or an insulin pump, and that'll be a way of life for them. Monitoring blood glucose is really a simple excuse me, a simple thing to do today with some of the new monitoring equipment. If you were to have diabetes, your doctor could set you up with a schedule when to use the glucose meter. Typically it's morning, before and after meals, exercise, and at bedtime. Some of the really long-term damage from untreated diabetes is plaque buildup, blood clots in the artery, that sort of thing, heart disease. 2 out of 3 people with diabetes will have heart disease, and it'll kill them. Diabetes is also the leading cause of kidney failure. The longer you have diabetes, the more important it is to get screened for your kidneys' health. There are medications that can intervene and slow down the process of kidney disease. Again, it's the size of those molecules trying to push through the semi-permeable membranes of the kidney. I won't bore you with the real technical aspects of it, but it is kind of the same thing. It starts to plug up the areas that filter out the blood in the kidneys. If blood sugar persists too long, you can get diabetic retinopathy, and that again is due to those capillaries getting plugged up by glucose. It's also the leading cause of blindness in people between 20 and 74. It's an irreversible disease. Really sad situation. So there's a lot of body systems that are affected by diabetes. As I was talking a little bit earlier, diabetics, typically you can see the reddening or purple rosacea around the ankles and the feet. And some of the symptoms of that are numbness, pain, tingling, pins and needles. Generally this happens in the fingers and hands and feet and toes, but the damage that occurs down there is irreversible simply because those cells that aren't being fed end up dying. They can only last about 4 minutes without the oxygen and without the food. Long-term damage to the feet can occur from diabetic nerve damage. People lose the sensation down there. There's neurological damage that's done as well as tissue damage, and a small little pebble can be an irritant that you and I would normally feel. They wouldn't feel it, and it would go on for a long time. I had a patient that came into the ER, and he was out mowing his lawn on his sit-down lawnmower, and he pulled up by his brother, and his foot was on fire. It was near the manifold, and he didn't know it. He couldn't feel it anymore. So, and what happens as well then is the circulation down there, the immunity system can't get in there to fight off infection, that sort of thing. Is very difficult to treat this. Gangrene sets in, and then eventually amputation. And I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom. Type 2 diabetes is a life-altering disease, but it is, the progression of the disease is preventable. And if you follow basically the same sort of guidelines that you do for warding off heart disease, eat a healthy diet, exercise for 30 minutes at least 5 days a week, maintain a healthy weight, and talk to your doctor about being screened. It's all about prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It saves a lot of money if you just go in and have the simple blood test done and find out where your blood sugar is. Anyhow, in people with prediabetes, lifestyle changes and medication can help prevent the progression to type 2 diabetes. With that, I'll end the presentation. Any questions from anyone? We're all going to run out and go get screened now, right? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. In Washington County, I don't really have a fix on how prevalent it is. No, but obesity rates are over 30%. That includes kids. That's a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, our next presentation is Waushara County Prevention Council update. Jan Novak and Pat Barrow, Human Services Department, and Shannon Rohde, Aging and Disability Resource Center.
Good evening. I'm probably a familiar face to a number of you. My name's Jan Novak, and I'm here with Pat Barrow and Shannon Rohde. Thank you for giving us some time on your agenda tonight to update you regarding the Waushara Prevention Council. I'm one of the current co-chairs of the council, and in February of 1999, the Waushara County Board of Supervisors, formally through resolution, adopted the functions of the Waushara Prevention Council as part of Waushara County. Today, we are a federally recognized 501c3, still doing work in Waushara County with a mission of facilitating effective prevention programs in response to the changing needs of our community. And you received in your packet a copy of our 2011 community report, which gives an overview of the Prevention Council. We are a nonprofit that looks to, again, facilitating those prevention efforts, and we function with working committees. And within that report, you'll have overviews of each of those committees. I am the chair of 3 committees. One is the Juvenile Delinquency Prevention Planning Board. The other is the Resource Information and Awareness Committee, and I brought along to each of your spots one of our pocket resource cards. You may recognize that card as coming from that committee. You would have also received a yellow page with the same information in much larger print, so you could read it a little bit easier, in your January resorter. And a large function of that committee is to update this information each year and to distribute it to all the households in Waushara County. The information included is information people are most often looking for if they need assistance in a certain area. The other committee that I chair is the Vision 2020 Ending Poverty Committee. And there's a little bit of information in the annual report about that committee. I wanted to share with you information about one of our most recent projects, and that is a nutrition backpack program that we implemented as a pilot project in the month of May. And this is a project in which one of our small schools in Waushara County with a very high free and reduced hot lunch rate. Last year it was 81%. This year it's around 77% free and reduced hot lunch. Population of about 120 students. So the majority, obviously, the majority of students come from homes that are economically disadvantaged. We implemented a program in which students will receive food to take home over the weekend, sent home in a backpack, to supplement what their family could offer them over the weekend when they didn't have access to the breakfast and the hot lunch programs. We were amazingly blessed to have a relationship with Waushara Industries, who agreed to store our food, to pack our backpacks, to deliver our backpacks, and then pick up the empty backpacks that students brought back on Monday morning. In this school, again, it was for the month of May, we served 27 students, went through a lot of food. I was kind of surprised. But our emphasis is on healthy food, not just food to fill them up. And part of that goes to the issue of obesity and wellness and wanting to supplement those diets of children who come from homes without a lot of extra resources that may struggle to put healthy food on the table. So that's just my little piece of some of the committees that I'm involved with. I believe Pat would like to talk a little bit about the committee that she chairs, Healthy Community, Healthy Youth Committee, and Shannon will talk about her committee, and then we'll open up for questions.
I'm going to talk about three things. Where Healthy Community, Healthy Youth is involved in a lot of things, but I want to highlight three of them. One is, several years ago, we were able to get all 3 school districts on board to do a survey of the youth in their schools to see just what's the climate like in terms of alcohol, drug use, bullying, strengths that the kids have, etc. The recent Youth Risk Behavioral Survey was done this March, and with the 8th, 10th, and 12th graders in the county. And that survey indicated that the highest use of any drug that the youth are partaking in is, of course, alcohol. Marijuana and tobacco are tied for the percentage of youth who used within the past 30 days. We also found out that bullying is an issue in the schools, and some kids are not feeling safe in the schools because of the bullying, including cyberbullying. There's just a lot of things that the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey indicated to us, and I'd be happy to come back and talk to you more about, what the survey is telling us of where the kids are at in Waushara County. Some of you have attended the Family and Community Town Suppers. I know Bernadette's been at a few. I don't know if anybody else has. Our last one in October was on prescription drug abuse and things that we could do to limit the abuse. According to the YRBS survey, it doesn't appear that the prescription drug abuse is real high yet, though we are seeing more kids using. But usually the prescription drug abuse and what we call farming parties are more in your early 20s in that age group. This October 29th, we are partnering with the Wautoma School District in providing a family community town supper, abbreviated FACS. It will be at the Wautoma High School, and it is going to be about Rachel's Challenge. The family of Rachel Scott, who was the first one who was killed in the Columbine killings in the school out there, they go around and they present to schools, to the kids, and they're going to do that during the day in the Wautoma School District. And at night, the program's going to be open to the entire community. And what they want to do is promote a chain reaction of kindness and compassion, a focus on anti-bullying. And the Rachel's Challenge aims to help transform the climate both within the schools and also uniting communities in the support of positive change. And that kind of leads into our asset building. Some of you have been on the board when we made presentations about the 40 developmental assets that youth need to have in order to succeed in life. And on the back of your programs, I handed out the programs that we used at our Healthy Community, Healthy Youth Recognition Dinner last Thursday. And on the back is the list of those 40 developmental assets. And on the back side of that, it's 15 characteristics of asset building communities. And so I really, encourage communities to develop those assets. And we have seen that the assets have increased. One of the big areas that the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey has shown is that kids are starting to feel valued by adults. Relationships are just really key. And the schools, I know, are really trying to promote the teachers building relationships with the kids, and they have, different ways that they're doing in the school. In the schools to build the assets. And so that we're seeing a change in the community. And in comparing our statistics too with the state and with the nation, we are a little bit lower than the rest of the youth in the United States. So that was exciting to hear or to see. Since 1998, we have been having the asset building recognition dinner. And since then, we've recognized, including those who were recognized last week, 477 people and organizations in our county that are helping to build assets with youth. And those evenings are just really so positive because people walk away with the thinking that, my gosh, there's really a lot going on in our county. And there is, thanks to the people who are committed to building relationships with youth, because we know that is very, very important. That's a little bit about the Healthy Community, Healthy Youth. Now I'll let Shannon talk about our Active Aging Committee.
Hi, good evening. About a year ago, the Waushara Prevention Council kind of reevaluated the target groups that they were looking at, and we noticed that we were really missing a big target group, especially coming up in the next few years here. And so we had the pleasure of Debbie Pavla coming and speaking about the friendly communities. And so from there, what we did is we developed a committee or a subcommittee of the Waushara Prevention Council called Active Aging Committee. Both Pat and myself are the co-chairs for that committee. And since then, we've kind of been finding our way and really, getting some goals down for what we want this subcommittee to accomplish. And our mission is to encourage aging adults to live an active, healthy lifestyle. And through that, we really are kind of focusing more on the volunteering. So we did a survey, an interest survey, within the last couple of months here, and we had 104 people respond to us. So we're still digesting the information from that, but things are looking very positive, giving a good route as to which way we need to go. And we're finding out that a lot of people in our community are volunteering, and so we want to encourage that, keep that going, and it also encourages that active lifestyle, keeps them involved with the socialization and then as well as the physical aspect. And so with that, what we're doing is, our next step is to now reach out to organizations, agencies, seeing what their needs for volunteering is, and then hopefully starting to make those connections. And we're looking at organizations and agencies, and going to be talking with the Argus and seeing if we can have a little spot in the resorter to kind of spotlight one of these organizations or agencies, and then hopefully make those connections to keep people moving in the community. And then also in January 2012 of this year, we are finally on the bandwagon of getting a website done for the Waushara Prevention Council. So if you do want to learn more about the subcommittees that we do have, as well as the Waushara Prevention Council in a whole, it's www.wausharapreventioncouncil.org. Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, next, we're recognizing the service of Norm Weiss and William Downey, Wisconsin County Highway Association resolutions. Recently, Dennis Weddy, myself, and Everett Eckstein and Tom Dahlke attended the Wisconsin Highways Conference down in Dalles. And do we want to read these? We have certificates for Norm and for Bill, and they're not here tonight, so they will be presented to them. Bill's was for 20 years, and Norm's was also for 20 years. Thank you. Okay, we have discussion and possible action items. The first one is
Motion to approve consortium agreement for the local elected officials of the Fox Valley Workforce Development Area.
Deb, do you have anything you want to?
You might vaguely remember this. We did action similar to this back, I believe, in December. Outagamie County has pulled out of this particular group, and so the document needed to be changed. So that's what actually the next two documents are, reflecting that Outagamie County is no longer part of this consortium.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the consortium agreement for the local elected officials of the Fox Valley Workforce Development Area.
A second. Okay, there's a motion by Supervisor Weddy, seconded by Supervisor Krantz. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The same sign. All right.
Approve joint agreement between the local elected officials and the Workforce Development Board of the Fox Valley Workforce Development Area.
Motion by Joe Piaski.
I'll second.
Second to approve.
To approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Is there any discussion? Thanks. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
Motion to approve revision to highway addendum of county personnel policy.
Motion by Bob Wadle.
I'll second the motion.
Point of order. Discussion?
Yeah, after.
Oh, okay.
And second by Dennis Weddy. And we will have a discussion on that. And Tom, you want to take any questions there are?
I'll give a little history quickly as I can here. Back when the unions disbanded or disappeared, we had to do a policy addendum specific to the highway department, as you did with probably most of the other departments. And in the old union contract, the residency requirement, and I'll read it because it's only 4 lines, says all newly hired employees that are not residents of Waushara County must become residents of Waushara County within 180 days of the date of their employment and continue to maintain said residency during the entire term of their employment as a condition of such employment. Exceptions may be granted by the county board in unusual situations. When we did the highway addendum, we didn't give the option for the county board to grant exceptions in any situations, whether you want to word it unusual or not. So what I'm asking for your consideration is that we change the highway addendum to give the county board the option, or if you want to make it the Public Works Board or Corporation Council or whoever you want. She doesn't like that though, but the option to make an exception. And here's why. A couple reasons why. One, we may have a quality person who lives 100 yards outside the county. No other Sheriff's Department, I think, is the only other department in the county that requires residency. We want residency whenever possible. Our main reason is for response time. You know, we act on emergencies, snowstorms, you know, floods, wind, trees down. Those things all happen, and have happened a lot, it seems like, lately. So we would like the option to be able to hire somebody that lives close to the county line. We have a person right now on an eligibility list who lives 2 houses outside of the county, and he actually lives closer to the shop than some of the people who live in the county. So those are the situations we'd be here asking for an unusual situation that we could hire this person. We don't want anybody from Wisconsin Rapids. We don't want anybody from, Stevens Point. Response time is critical in our business. This would be exceptions only when it was right. It's not a blanket, okay, every time we come here, we're going to come here from somebody who lives 40 miles outside the county. I wouldn't even consider that. But there are reasons that we feel that are legitimate to hire somebody outside the county. This was discussed at Public Works Board. It was discussed at Personnel, and that's why it's here now. We did it for some other history, because there's always another side of the coin. We did have a highway employee last year come to the board to request for residency outside of the county. He lived in the county, and he wanted to move outside, and it wasn't real far, and the county board did deny that request. And I don't know the reason. I can't report on why it was denied, but it was denied. So there's that flip side that this has come up before, and it was denied. I think we're in a different world now. We're a non-union world. We're a policy world. I think that, the rules and the world that we live in are a little different, and I think it could be easier to make those exceptions. But again, that's up to you guys. So I think I covered everything I wanted to. Is there any questions on this? Okay, Larry?
Don't you think maybe it would be a good idea to just put a limitation on how far they can be from the county line? Then you wouldn't have to come to the county board every time you wanted something changed?
That would be fine with me. That's an option. One county, for example, has an actual response time. This many minutes, you have to be able to respond. So you can live within that circle, whether it's 100 yards outside the county or a quarter mile or whatever that is. So there are options. That would save a step at the county board level, sure.
Are there county residents? Are there county residents that are qualified and available for that job?
That put in applications? There's probably residents that are qualified for the job. We've been through the hiring process. We just put 4 new people on a month or so ago, and 2 new people on at the first of the year. And quite honestly, we struggled to get qualified people. We'd had 59 applications, I think, one time, and the other time was 69, and we struggled to get qualified people that we were happy with. And actually, we offered a job a couple times that we actually got turned down after we offered the job. So the answer is yes, there is, but no, they're not applying. Or in our eyes, they're not a qualified person. But yeah, they're out there if they apply. Larry?
Yeah, with putting the distance on, we've kind of got that right now. I mean, I think myself, if they're qualified to work and they're within your response time, I don't see anything wrong with it. If they're, if they're one of the top selections.
Right. We do want to have qualified personnel. Makes our life easier, of course. For information for some of the members who don't know, we do have 3 shops in Waushara County. The main shop is in Wautoma. We have a satellite shop in Hancock and a satellite shop in Poisippi. We staff all 3 shops in the wintertime for response time. We have people who live near to those shops that report to those shops every day in the winter, and they work out of there. Today, every single employee reported to the Wautoma shop because that's where the work is. We're doing a major paving project. So today, everybody reports to Wautoma, but we have the ability to have people living all over the county. The guy that lives in Poisippi, we're not going to ask to respond to emergency over in Hancock. It doesn't make sense. We want to get the people to respond, whether the emergency is trees across the road or high water, and we have to sign flooding or something like that. We're going to deal with that with the people that are closest to the shop, where the work or the emergency is. But you're right, Larry, that's, you know, we have employees now, and we actually look at where they live sometimes if we have that option, because we have openings in this shop or in that shop. So that is a factor too.
I guess, in my opinion, I'd like to see us use the county employee or county residences before we go out of the county. I think we should use the people that live here and that applied for the jobs first.
Questions?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
You want to, okay, all right.
This request is just going to change the policy to give us that ability. When we do have this come up, and we might soon, because we're going to lose an employee here very shortly, and the only person that we have on our eligibility list is somebody who lives 2 houses outside of the county. So if, when it comes time to hire the next individual, I will come back and request that exception. You still have the option to say no at that time. If you don't like the situation or the circumstance, you still can say no, even though the policy says correct.
That's correct, but they're just doing a roll call to clarify that.
Okay. All right.
All right, Mrs. Krentz. Mr. Jones.
No.
Mr. Tim.
No.
Mr. Piaski.
No.
Signs absent. Mr. Weddy.
Yes.
Mrs. Colada.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Wadle.
Yes.
Mr. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Okay, we have 6 ayes and 3 noes.
7.
7 no. 7 ayes?
Sorry. That's 1 absent.
Okay, thank you very much. So that has been approved. Next, we have consideration of possible action on the following resolutions and ordinance.
Resolution number 21-06-12, authorizing a document numbering system for the Register of Deeds pursuant to Section 59.43.
To a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve resolution number 21-06-12.
Motion? Second by Bob Wado. All right, now is there discussion? Do you have any questions for Barb? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Resolution 22-6-12, cooperation agreement for CDBG program.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Piaski,
Second.
second by Jones. Is there discussion? Do you want to? Yes, please.
Okay. The state of Wisconsin is changing how counties will apply for development block grants that deal with housing. They will not do it at the county level anymore. They will only do it regionally. And so Share County had to make a decision and went with a central group. So it's Marathon, Wood, Portage, Wapaka, Green Lake, Marquette, Adams, and Washera, and so it's a nice centrally located area. Wapaka has agreed to be the fiscal agent for this, and so basically what will happen is each region will get a certain amount of money based on a formula that the state will come up with. So there will be no more competitive grant writing, which is what I did the last time, and we did receive money. It will be done by region, so. No, it'll go by the region. It's just gonna go by the region, so.
Yes.
We recently had one of those programs, did we not? Is that
Yes.
still in effect?
We're just finalizing that. I think the last thing, we were down to about $35,000, something like that we have that isn't totally committed yet, and we have, I think, until the end of June to commit those funds, so. So, yeah, we used up almost the
End of
full
this
amount.
month? Not much
Well,
time.
Coming really close.
Chris was going to try and get an extension into September to finish the projects that they had going, so she was pretty confident that
Yeah, that was in conjunction with CAP Services, was it not?
They were our
actually,
administrator,
yeah.
so we hired them to administrate the program.
You think does she think that she'll be able to get an extension? And if so, how long of an extension is she looking at?
She was pretty confident that she could get it, but, of
We have to
course-
have everything spent, I think, by September, so, or all the work done by September.
Do you know how many more applicants there are toward that program?
It's coming in, it's changing all the time, but since we had the meeting, there was one program, or one project that they cleaned up all of their problems they had, and so one more project was approved, or will be ready to come to you guys, so we're really close to using all the money up. We're
Thank you.
really close.
Which is pretty amazing, since we started with $650,000, didn't we? I thought it was six.
I think it was more like 250.
Oh. Well, I wish we had gotten six.
Well, we're happy with the
Go
250.
for that one, yeah.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, ordinance number, and it should read 545, so I apologize for that. Ordinance amending Washera County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in Chapter 58 Washera County Code, zone change, Patricia and Eugene Reese, Town of Deerfield.
Motion by Weddy, second by, motion by Waddell, second by Crawford. Are there any questions, any discussion?
What township is this in?
Deerfield? No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carried. Now we have an appointment to the Tri-County Regional Economic Development Corporation, Larry Tim, and his term will be June 2012 through April 2014. Motion by Crawford, second by Kirschner to approve. Any discussion? Do you have anything you want to say, Larry? You really love doing that?
When's the party?
Can hardly wait to get there.
He lost the card cut.
Just that I'll abstain.
Okay. Larry will be abstaining. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right. You're there, Larry. Board suggestions for future agenda items. I believe in August, East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission wants to do a report to the board at our August board meeting, which I'm assuming is going to be here unless.
August will
No,
not
will
be in
not
this
be here.
building.
Okay, so we have to find a township that wants to host the county board meeting. Dakota? All right. Barb just volunteered Dakota, so.
There.
Oh, good, good. All right, we will be meeting in Dakota in August. Is there another month that we have to leave the courthouse? Just that one? Well, if somebody wants to host it, a township wants to host it. Ruth and I did host a gathering of the, we invited the town chairman, and Bob Wade didn't come. Neither did Everett. But we did have some open discussion with the town chairman, and I thought it went very well. I think they want to meet again. So that was Ruth's idea, and I thought it was a very good one. And so we'll see how that goes. I think we should have another, maybe quarterly, and so that's all I have to report. Everett's not here, so.
I was gonna say, we probably can't adjourn.
I know, we'll be here till Everett gets back. August meeting in?
21st.
21st.
Okay. Thanks, Barb, for volunteering. All right, we can't stay here till Everett gets back.
I will take Everett's position and ask to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, a motion
Second.
by Weddy, second by Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Even without Everett.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to be here all night.
Was I supposed to? Are you?
Norm usually did, but we
Okay.
can do it however you want.
Just
You're
do
the
the
chair.
resolutions.
You go to the big
Is
Whatever
this
you want.
yours?
No, I just wanted to know
Where
if
is it?
you wanted a copy.
You know where ACEC is? Adams Columbia Electric Co-op? Right across the street. It's a log cabin type building, yeah.
Yeah, I don't either, and I don't need any
Is
more
there
paper.
something
Got
I
it?
need to be doing?
Huh?
Because they don't want them.
I'm gonna ask Kirschner.
Them and Tom don't hit it.
Have I done it
If
really?
you'll let me know.
I think it's
Good.
That is gonna still.
all of those guys doing it. Little committee people.
Modern is good.
I think it's wrong.
Modern is very,
I
very
think you should use the people in the county first.
Thanks for hosting the meeting.
Not even on the eligibility list. Which is wrong.
You're pretty new.
They don't do what they want to do anyway, so.
I know, that's nice.
And I've never had the guts not to do it before, so I thought I should try it tonight.
Well, we tried, Joe.
Where do you assess now?
Mississippi and Oasis in Washington County.
I'm having questions on all these lake lots that aren't assessed. Pearl has 8 or 10 of them that just don't have an assessment on them. There's no name on them. They're not on the tax. They got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And the people, I don't know why they're not assessed.
That's their
It's all
public
zeros.
public access areas.
But there's some that aren't count or township owned or county owned. There's just
Private-
lots.
If they're privately owned, they should do that.
So how do they go about doing that? Township has to
Hey,
talk to their
Bernadette?
assessors.
Yes.
Have them
What do
look
we
at
give
these.
these to?
Not here, you give it.
I would talk to
Deb could take
Jan
it to her
Schumacher.
secretary.
Actually,
Okay.
I
Hey,
have
Deb?
already and asked her about it.
she should be able
She
to.
said there's a lot of, and actually some of the people from the lake have gone and talked to her. And they got maps showing all these parcels around the lake that aren't. 'Cause we're having issues with, right now, down at the Lower White River.